Oil production has increased dramatically in the United States in recent years, and more of that oil is being hauled in tank car trains. That's why more tank car trains are now running on the prototype that I am modeling, and it's why you should expect to see more tank car trains on my layout. Today I want to talk to you about the shipment of petroleum products by rail and what it means for my layout. That's coming right up. Hi, I'm Roy Smith. Historically, most crude oil has been transported by pipelines. However, the existing pipeline network lacks the capacity to handle the high amount of petroleum being drilled these days. Fortunately for the prototype railroads and for us in the hobby, tank car trains can handle the higher production of crude oil. As you know, I'm modeling the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision, which stretches across southwestern Wyoming into northeastern Utah. The largest industry in Wyoming is energy extraction, and that includes coal, petroleum, and natural gas. Wyoming ranks 8th among the 50 states in the production of oil, but only about 6% of these energy products is consumed in Wyoming. The rest is shipped throughout the U.S. and to ports for shipping overseas. As it so happens, the Union Pacific's Evanston Subdivision is a major route for the transportation of petroleum products. Here comes a westbound tank car train now. We are going to watch it as it crosses my layout. It's hauling crude oil from drill sites in southwestern Wyoming to refineries in northeastern Utah. You may ask, why isn't it hauling the crude oil to one of the refineries in Wyoming? For example, there's the Sinclair Refinery, 135 miles east of Green River. Well, here's why. The dramatic increase in oil production has outpaced the oil industry's ability to transport it to refineries by pipeline. And the increase in oil production has also outpaced the ability of many existing refineries to process it. It takes a lot of time to build new pipelines and new refineries. It's just faster, easier, and cheaper to build rail terminals where tank car trains can be loaded. Tank car trains have an advantage over pipelines. Pipelines can transport crude oil only to fixed locations, but tank car trains can haul it to multiple locations. When one refinery is already working at capacity, tank car trains can haul the crude to different refineries. That's why this train is hauling crude oil to refineries just north of Salt Lake City, Utah. Let's face it, you have to get the crude oil to refineries where it can be transformed into usable products such as gasoline and diesel fuel. Some time ago, I bought this refinery kit. I may put it together eventually if I can find a place for it on my layout. In fact, there is a small refinery just east of Evanston. I think it's served by trucks rather than by rail, but that's okay. Sometimes we have to do fictional things, even on layouts that are based on a prototype. Our train has stopped here for a crew change at Green River. I'd like you to take a look at the new yard office here. Chris Perry, a friend of mine who lives in New Zealand, built it and sent it to me. It looks a lot like the yard office on the prototype at Green River. Very nicely done, Chris. Chris sent it to me in a box full of things. I'm going to show you what he sent me in an upcoming video. Following the crew change at Green River, our train continues westbound. There are a couple of things about this train that you may have already noticed. First, it's a unit train. That means all of the cars on the train are of the same type. All of them are tank cars. All of the cars are hauling the same product, crude oil. And all of the cars come from the same origin and are headed to the same destination, an oil refinery in Utah. So all of the cars on the train are traveling as a single unit. Hence, it's a unit train. On the prototype, unit tank car trains may be 100 cars or more long. Unfortunately, I'm limited to running trains that are 15 to 20 cars long on my layout. Something else you've probably noticed are the buffer cars at the front and rear of the train. I prefer to use covered hoppers as buffer cars on my layout. They are loaded with sand and serve to protect onboard crews in case of a derailment and explosion of the tank cars. I understand that some railroads don't use DPUs or distributed power units on tank car trains. In such case, the buffer car at the end of the train might not be needed, but the presence of that buffer car will facilitate switching the tank cars once the train arrives at its destination. Tank cars hauling petroleum products are generally described as one-way cars. In other words, they can't be loaded with other products for the return trip the way, say, boxcars, for example, can. The tank cars are returned as empties to the oil fields, where they are again loaded with crude to be transported to refineries. This is characteristic of unit trains. They travel as loads in one direction and return as empties in the opposite direction. One last thing I'd like to mention, most tank cars are owned by the industries whose products are being shipped or by leasing companies, and not by the railroads that haul the tank cars. For me, it has been a lot of fun to study the oil industry in Wyoming and the shipment of oil by rail. In fact, one of the things I like most about the hobby is learning about the region I am modeling, its history, geography, and economy, and the operations of the Union Pacific Railroad that runs through that region. So you can see more tank car trains running on the prototype these days, and hopefully you will also see more of them running on my layout. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're here for the first time, and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes on this channel. I want to thank you for watching, and until next time, happy railroading. I will see you again very soon.